Hello, Podheads. I'm Kylie Caldwell,
This is Kate Carter.
And I'm Holly Spear.
and I think I have a little series going on, and I'm going to bring you another part to this series. Do you remember the cases I covered of Leah Roberts and Maura Murray, both college-age girls who went on an unexplained and impromptu road trip? Their cars were located crashed, but there have been no signs of either of them since. As odd as those cases are, it turns out there are so many like them, too many to name. But today I'm going to bring you two other similar cases, and both males this time.
Look at you. The Mara Murray case was nuts.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah,
Same.
very frustrating.
So these are the stories of the still missing Bryce Laspisa and Jason Landry. So buckle up. And we'll start with Bryce Laspisa, probably the more well-known case if you're an avid true crime listener. Not much is known about his early life, but in 2013, where all of this took place, he is 19 years old. And his parents, Karen and Michael, were from a suburb of Chicago. But right after Bryce graduated from high school in 2012, his parents retired early and moved to Laguna Niguel, California. It's in Orange County, just south of LA, so just imagine nice houses on a sunny beach. Definitely different vibes from Chicago. While the parents were living there, Bryce was actually attending Sierra College, a community college in Rockland. It's 7 hours north and it's a little outside of the capital, Sacramento, and he has his own apartment there. Bryce's freshman year, starting in 2012, went great. He was studying industrial and graphic design. He got good grades. He had a great social life. His roommate, Sean, became one of his best friends, and he even started dating a girl named Kim. In the summer between his first and second year, Bryce went back to his parents until early August when they helped him resettle into his apartment. And as soon as Bryce got back, everything about him changed. All of a sudden, he started acting erratic. He was binge drinking, like daily. From what I read, he was already kind of like a party boy and he liked to drink, hang out with friends on the weekends. But now it was too much and too often. Like even his friends, fellow college kids were like, dude, this is getting out of hand. And it takes a lot for fellow college kids to say that.
Yeah, for sure.
The first day of classes was August 27th. Bryce called his mom after classes were done and he said everything was good. Didn't seem like his courses were going to be too bad. And his mom, Karen, said he seemed like his usual self during their call. After hanging up with his mom, Bryce stayed up playing video games and drinking with a friend. And I don't know who this friend is, but allegedly this friend stated that Bryce took a Vyvanse to stay awake longer. And I think this was just to be able to play video games longer. Like it was just the first day of classes. There's no homework.
Syllabus day.
So if you're not familiar, Vyvanse is basically just like Adderall. It's just a different form of it. They have different release times and durations. For some reason, I thought that Vyvanse was just like a generic version of Adderall. Turns out they're different things. But Bryce did not have ADHD and he did not have a prescription for Vyvanse. And we have no idea how or where he got them or for how long he had been taking them. According to girlfriend Kim and roommate Sean, he had been taking them at minimum since he got back to school 2 weeks prior. So, as stimulants do, Bryce didn't go to sleep and instead texted his girlfriend Kim completely out of the blue, quote, "You're better off without me," end quote. Kim responded with, "Are you breaking up with me?" And Bryce said yes.
So he was in his feels.
Yes. And when I say this is out of the blue, like I mean it, they had been together for over a year, zero issues. They had even hung out that day. There was no fights, no arguments, no reservations about their relationship. So completely out of the blue. The odd behavior continues into the next day, the 28th, and Bryce is still awake. Without explanation, he gave his Xbox to his roommate Sean. He took out his diamond earrings and also gave them to Sean. Later texting him, quote, "I love you, bro. Seriously, you're the best person I've ever met. You saved my soul," end quote. So Sean heard the alarm bells ringing and called Bryce's mom, Karen, sharing his concerns. He said Bryce has been acting super strange. He's drinking a lot. He's saying these weird things. He's giving me like all these expensive gifts. And a couple hours later, mom Karen got another call about Bryce, and this time from girlfriend Kim. Kim said Bryce was at her apartment and he was being super weird, maybe intoxicated or high. Kim explained she took his car keys with the thought that Bryce was not in the place to be driving, and now he's super upset about it. So mom Karen had Bryce get on the phone and he just said, "Hey, me and Kim broke up. She's just upset that I broke up with her and she won't let me leave." According to Karen, he did not sound intoxicated or high on the phone. There's no slurring, no rambling, just straightforward, normal Bryce. So Karen was like, "Okay, Kim, give him his keys back. Bryce, you go back to your apartment and I'm going to fly up there tomorrow and we'll figure out what the hell is going on with you. Everyone was like, okay, sounds good. But Bryce was adamant that his mom didn't have to come up. He said he does want to talk to her about something important. There is a lot to talk about, but they'll do that over the phone tomorrow. Bryce ended up leaving Kim's apartment around 11:30 p.m. and called his mom back around 1, saying he made it back to his apartment. And their apartments are 90 minutes away from each other, so all sounded good. The next morning around 11 a.m., Bryce's parents received a notification from State Farm that roadside assistance was completed for their 2003 Toyota Highlander, and this was Bryce's car. They called Bryce repeatedly with no answer. Next, they called Bryce's roommate, Sean, to put him on the phone, and Sean was like, oh, Bryce isn't here. He never came home last night. And we'll later learn when Bryce made that call to his mom saying that he was home, he and his phone were actually an hour south of his apartment. So Bryce's parents had the smart idea to look through his bank statements to try and figure out where he was. I believe that the credit card was like in their names and he just had his own card with their account so they could track everything he was doing. So they log in and see that Bryce's last purchase was at the Castro Tire and Truck, a repair shop in Buttonwillow, California. And this is only 3 hours north of the parents and 4 hours south of Bryce's apartments. So to them, at least, it looked like he was on his way home. They called the shop and spoke with technician Christian, who you'll see is like the greatest guy. Christian explained he was dispatched to a rest stop where Bryce had pulled over after running out of gas. He got Bryce 3 gallons around 9 a.m. and all seemed fine. Christian offered to actually go back to the rest stop to see if Bryce was still there. And guess what? He was. At this point, it's now noon, and Bryce had just been sitting in his car in the rest stop parking lot, completely still, staring forward for 3 hours.
Okay. So he's either on something or he's had a mental break
Or both.
or both.
So Christian puts Bryce on the phone with his mom, and she just tells Bryce, hey, I don't know what's going on. We can talk when you get here, but just fill up the rest of your tank and keep driving home. Bryce agrees, and Christian watches him drive out of the rest stop parking lot and get back onto I-5. With where he was, Bryce's parents were expecting him to get home around 3 p.m. Well, 3 pulls around, then 4, and by 6 p.m., with Bryce still not answering his phone and no sign of him, they filed a missing persons report in their home county, Orange County. And I will say, amazingly, police immediately put in an emergency order to a cell phone provider to ping his phone, which we never hear of this.
I feel like would have taken weeks.
But they pinged the phone, and Bryce's phone was only 8 miles down the road from the rest stop, now parked in a hotel parking lot. Police dispatch the local police there. They pull up, ask him what's going on, and all Bryce says is that he's just blowing off steam. Police searched his car, literally pulled out everything from it onto the ground, looked through it all, and no drugs or alcohol was found. They performed a field sobriety test, and Bryce passed, and according to the officer, he seemed completely fine and okay to drive. Once again, Bryce was put on the phone with his mom, and she asked what was going on. All he said was he was putting his stuff back in the car. So Mom Karen was like, okay, he doesn't want to talk about anything serious, so she just tells him to get some food and get back on the road. And I'm sure everyone's wondering, because I wondered the same, like all the forums about this case, all the comments are like, why didn't the parents just drive up and meet him or go pick him up? Like at this point, he's only a couple hours away. And I don't know the answer, but
Yeah.
hindsight is 2020. The only thing I can think of is that like up until now, there's like no history of Bryce doing this. Like the cops say he's sober and okay to drive. I guess they kind of viewed it as him just having a little depressive episode or temper tantrum. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they think it would be worse if they tried
Wink.
to force him, you know?
Yeah.
Moody college boy, you know? He's still a teenager, isn't he, technically?
Yeah, he's 19.
And if he's saying he's like on his way and he's getting closer every time you have like a contact with him, I feel like I would think he's about to be here, you know, like he's on his way. We'll talk about it when he gets here.
I think that makes the most sense. Luckily, we do have Christian, the shop technician. A couple hours later, Christian actually calls Mom Karen back and she fills him in on where he was found the second time. And Christian was like, okay, let me go check again. So 15 minutes later, Christian calls Karen back and tells her that Bryce is still parked in the hotel parking lot where police had found him earlier. Still just sitting there staring forward. Christian was able to convince Bryce to get back onto I-5, and Christian actually followed him down the road for 30 minutes before turning around and heading home. Christian did call the parents one last time and told them Bryce is on the way. He should be home soon. During this part of the drive, Bryce actually started answering calls from his parents, but he was not providing any real updates. They kept asking him, okay, what town are you in now? What exit are you passing? Are there any landmarks? All Bryce would say is that it's too dark to see anything, but his GPS says he'll be home at 3:25 a.m. At 2:09 a.m., Bryce called his parents and told them he was too tired to keep driving. He was going to pull over and take a quick nap. By now, Bryce had been awake for at least 24 hours straight. His parents agree and they go to bed themselves. At 8 a.m. on the morning of August 30th, Karen and Michael woke up to a knock at the front door. They ran down to get it, but it wasn't Bryce, it was the police. Police stated that around 5:30 a.m., a construction worker found Bryce's car overturned and abandoned at Castaic Lake. This is about 2 hours away from the parents' house and only an hour south of where Bryce was parked at that hotel. The car had gone down a hill towards the lake and dropped down about a 25-foot decline, landing on its side. The back window had been pushed out from the inside, and there were 2 tiny little drops of blood. To investigators, it looked like Bryce had accelerated down the hill on purpose, pushing the gas pedal down. It also appeared he wasn't severely injured in the crash, as he was able to break out the window to get down, and there was only just a tiny bit of blood from that. Inside the car, investigators found Bryce's laptop and phone. Just outside of the car was his wallet and duffel bag, which was unzipped. So the road that Bryce drove up to that area did have a camera that took pictures of license plates as people drove to the recreation center. And Bryce's car was spotted by this camera driving up the hill at 2:15 a.m., so 6 minutes after he said he was going to pull over and take a nap. And then the car was spotted again going back up the same way at 4:29 a.m. There's no camera tracking plates going back down the hill, so we don't know how long Bryce was up there the first time or where he was in between this. But looking at everything, if Bryce crashed the car right after driving up at 4:29 a.m. and his car being found at 5:30 a.m., he had only been gone for an hour. But the problem was Bryce was nowhere to be found. For days, investigators searched the area on foot, helicopter, using sonar imaging, divers, and ATVs. They even dredged the lake.
They hopped on this case so quickly.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Unfortunately, we don't see that very often.
Definitely not.
Especially when there's no signs of or obvious signs of foul play. Like you didn't see a young girl getting kidnapped.
Right.
Yeah.
On September 8th, a bloodhound was deployed and was able to pick up a scent. The dog tracked Bryce's scent from his car, across the road, over a bridge that went over the dam, into a nearby truck stop. The scent stopped at the truck stop. The next day, a second bloodhound was brought out and confirmed the exact same path. And that is the last piece of evidence we have about Bryce's whereabouts. I could not find a single reliable report that confirmed whether or not investigators looked into the truck stop, checked cameras, asked people around there if they saw or heard him, anything. So I have zero clue about that. But the theory of Bryce meeting with foul play at the truck stop hinges on whether or not you believe in the power of dogs scent tracking, which I have to say I do. 2 different dogs had the exact same trail. To me, that deserves some credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another theory is that Bryce ran away willingly, maybe hitched a ride from the truck stop. The probably more predominant theory is that Bryce committed suicide and just has not been located yet. With the scene showing Bryce accelerated down the hill on purpose, many believe that he was attempting to drive into the lake in an effort to commit suicide but failed. Once he got out of the car, perhaps he walked off to do so another way.
That seems like such a odd way to try to commit suicide. I mean, I hate to say that, but to drive into the lake, I don't know.
He kicked out his window and got out of the car anyways.
Well, I guess he did that because he didn't make it to the lake.
Yeah, that's true.
It is weird. We know he was clearly going through something, whether it was a mental break or a side effect of using substances or even hitting his head during the crash. Bryce was not his usual self. And as I'm researching this case, I'm trying to figure out if I had to pick one. I think the suicide theory is plausible.
Mm-hmm.
He kept stopping during this drive and would just stare off into space like he was contemplating things. I know people will be wondering, well, if he committed suicide, where is he? Truth is, it happens so often when people aren't discovered until much later or not at all. The lake is very large and surrounded by thousands of acres of forests. The search area could be widened if he did hitch a ride from the truck stop. Bryce's family and a lot of followers of the case do believe that Bryce willingly walked away and may be homeless. There have been reported sightings of Bryce in Los Angeles, Oxnard, and even as far as Arkansas and Tennessee. But nothing has been confirmed, and Bryce Laspisa is still missing. Bryce would now be 30 years old. At the time of his disappearance, he was 5'10", 160 pounds, and he had his ginger hair cut into a buzz cut. On his left shoulder, Bryce has a tattoo of a bull's head with Roman numerals. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Bryce Laspisa, please call the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department at 323-890-5500. Tips can also be sent directly to the Laspisa family, who run the Find Bryce Laspisa Facebook page, where they post regular updates. And that was the story of Bryce Laspisa.
I feel like I'm more in the theory of suicide, but the fact that he was never found kind of sucks. I just don't feel like there was any foul play.
Yeah, I wish we knew more about the truck stop.
I do too.
Yeah.
I have to assume they checked it out though, because they did so good with everything else.
I don't know if this is the case that I've heard about, but I've heard about a case like this. But I feel like the other one was like had to do with some kind of like embankment. The person drove their car like up an embankment, but it was like a college student.
There's so many, dude.
And then just like walked away.
Well, the Maura Murray one. It's
Yeah.
like in a ditch.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but it's always like kind of the same story, kind of a mental break situation, but it's always a college student. It always involves like a car and like questionable like drug use or alcohol use.
But the whole never finding their bodies freaks me out.
Yes, yes. Like I understand that kind of stuff can happen, unfortunately, like mental breaks when young people that have mental issues like kind of surface around their young 20s, but it is just odd that the bodies are never found.
Yeah, and you'd think like if they were going through a mental break, you wouldn't think they'd be in the right mindset to like purposefully hide
Right.
Right.
that well, at least.
To me, just the amount of times this happens is what's so creepy, and the fact that they never find their bodies.
Are you ready for another one? Exactly like it?
Great.
Oh no. Yeah.
The next story is a pretty recent one, and that is the story of Jason Landry, who went missing in December of 2020. 21-year-old Jason was living in San Marcos, Texas, and attending Texas State University. He was known to be sort of a goofball, definitely an extrovert, and also a bit of a pothead. I'm sure we're all aware and have PTSD from. 2020 was COVID times and everyone was locked down. Jason definitely felt the effects of being isolated, living in a small apartment away from home, attending Zoom classes, and only getting out to work his shifts at Jimmy John's. During this time, Jason's weed smoking amped up, and with that came some weird conversations with friends. He started talking to friends about how with weed he was able to see God for the first time, and he would go on and on about aliens and the upcoming rapture. It does sound odd, I'll give you that, but from what I read, I kind of took the assumption that to his friends, they were having these conversations. It was just like lighthearted, high conversations. He wasn't too alarming. Like he just rambled about aliens when he was high.
It was the rapture part for me.
The rapture always raises red flags.
Aliens doesn't raise too many red flags for me, but end of the world, yeah.
The night before Jason disappeared, he had a phone call with his mom, Lisa, and she said he was his normal self, excited to come home for winter break. On the evening of December 13th, Jason FaceTimed with a friend for about 45 minutes while he rolled some joints and packed. In a backpack, he packed some toiletries, his PlayStation, laptop, and the joints inside an old pill container. He also packed up his betta fish, Sparky, into a little plastic travel container with water. Jason then put on a t-shirt, shorts, and sandals paired with SpongeBob socks and packed everything into his 2003 Nissan Altima. Once ready, he plugged his parents' address in Missouri City, Texas into the Waze app and set off. The drive from his apartment in San Marcos was 165 miles, so about 2.5 hours. Now, he did leave around 11 p.m., but I think the entire time his plan was to leave a bit later to avoid traffic. While driving down Texas Highway 80, Jason FaceTimed a friend and Snapchatted back and forth with an ex-girlfriend. Then at 11:24 p.m., Jason turned off Waze while in Luling, Texas. At this point, he should have turned right to get on Interstate 10, which was a straight shot to his parents. Instead, he kept going straight for a few blocks and then turned left onto Salt Flat Road for seemingly no reason. No one in his family, no friends, no one knows any connections to this town or how he would even know about this road. But Jason drove down this road for about 5 more miles. At 11:28 p.m., he sent his ex-girlfriend a selfie on Snapchat, and that was the last time anyone saw or heard from Jason Landry.
I'm wondering, like, I know this sounds very simple, but was he like looking for gas, going to the bathroom? But 5 miles is a hot minute to drive down a road.
So for where he turned off of, like where he should have turned right, but then turned left instead, like he was in town. Like he was at the exit to get on Interstate 10, like that's where all the gas stations, that's where everything would have been at. He turned down like a gravel road with nothing on it.
Yeah, never mind.
About an hour later, a volunteer firefighter was driving down Salt Flat Road and found a Nissan Altima crashed on the side of the road. The car was facing the wrong way and wedged against a tree. The airbags hadn't been deployed, but the car was pretty messed up. I sent the girls a photo, but to paint a picture, the rear end of the car is basically smashed in, and the front left wheel area is sort of torn off. The rear window had also been shattered. So the firefighter pulls up, sees this, jumps out of the car to help, but no one is inside the car. The headlights are still on, keys are in the ignition, but the engine is off. He calls the police, who arrive like 45 minutes later, and immediately they're like, oh, whoever was driving this car was probably drunk, crashed, and fled the scene. And the firefighter was like, wait, guys, there's a backpack full of stuff nearby. Cops go over to this backpack, which is about 900 feet from the car, and inside was Jason's wallet, laptop, toiletries, and his weed. And unfortunately, I do have to report that Sparky the fish was deceased inside of the backpack.
Oh, as if it couldn't get worse.
But also nearby were all of Jason's clothes dropped into a small pile. I mean, all of his clothes, what he was wearing, his shirt, shorts, underwear, socks, sandals, and even his watch were just in a pile sitting on the road.
And this is what he was wearing, not what he took with him.
Correct.
Interesting. Is it cold?
35 degrees.
Don't you get crazy with hypothermia?
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Still, police are like, okay, whatever, tow the car, let's get out of here. So there's an abandoned crash car, belongings on the road, and a naked guy out there somewhere. Police did call Jason's parents and told them they found narcotics. He was probably high, and they left the scene. So we have like the opposite response between Texas and California right here.
And I love that this one's more recent.
Yes.
Hmm.
So after zero investigating, Jason's dad, Kent, arrived at Salt Flat Road pretty quickly after getting that call, and he brought a blanket and change of clothes for Jason. But when Dad Kent arrived, he was completely shocked. The car had been towed. There were no officers, no crime scene tape, no one searching. But what was there was Jason's stuff still laying on the road.
They just left all his shit there?
They did.
Not that.
Now, Kent is a pastor, but before that, he was an attorney, so he knows how scenes should be processed, even simple car crash scenes. So he took pictures of everything like a detective should have. And then he went to go get Jason's car from the tow yard. In the car, he found Jason's cell phone, which had been wedged in between the driver's seat and the center console. Even before this, the family was obviously concerned, but Jason not having his phone and just being out there in an unknown place was even more alarming. Jason's mom, Lisa, called the police department that first arrived to the scene and was like, hey, what's going on? Why is no one looking for my son? And all they said was that the trooper who responded went home and went to bed. The Landry family rightfully believes that the Lowling Police Department stopped caring about Jason and what happened to him as soon as they found the weed in his bag. Kent gave the following quote to a reporter, which I think sums this all up really well. He said, quote, regardless of whether Jason was drunk, stoned, or any of the above, you had what you thought was a naked college student wandering a place he did not know in freezing cold weather with Arctic winds. You need to find that person and save them from themselves. However they got in that situation, find them and help them. End
Yeah,
quote.
who cares if he was drunk or high? Like that makes any difference. Like none of these people have ever been drunk or high.
Yeah, holier than thou.
Yeah, so just sorry, it's his own fault, own problem. Okay.
No, I feel like we see that so often. Just because someone's drunk, high, a sex worker, homeless, has mental health issues, doesn't mean that police don't have to do their job.
Yeah. Or that they deserve in any way to be killed or lost or anything.
Motto of the day, do your fucking job. The Landry family contacted the police in San Marcos, where Jason lived, and they went to his apartment to confirm he wasn't there. They also spoke to Jason's roommate and friends, who confirmed they hadn't heard from him since he left. So by now, the state was getting involved since the local police department, I guess, did not want to. The Texas Department of Public Safety came in to lead the investigation, and they also brought in the nonprofit groups Texas Search and Rescue and our favorite, Texas EquiSearch. Over the next couple of days, hundreds of people searched over 30,000 acres on foot, horses, ATVs, helicopters, and planes. In this area, to paint a picture, it's full of oil wells. It's a tiny little town. You know, Texas, they got their oil wells. There's a couple of houses on this road, but it's mainly large fenced off properties where they're, I don't know what the hell, pulling up oil. I don't know how it works. There's also a couple of ponds not too far off the road on these properties. So the tracking dogs were brought in, and after smelling Jason's shirt he left behind, one of the dogs ran straight towards one of these ponds. And then 8 different dogs signaled to human remains at this pond that was about 1,000 yards from where the car was found. A boat was brought out, and with sonar imaging, something popped up that was concerning. Divers then entered the pond, but they couldn't find anything. Luckily, the landowner gave police permission to drain the pond, and this took a couple days to completely empty it and sort through the mud, but there was nothing, just turtles.
That doesn't make any sense.
The police were just as confused as we are. There's no way 8 different dogs got it wrong. Well, it turns out they did, and there's a really weird reason for it. So, investigators ended up talking to a bunch of scientists, and it's still a theory. It hasn't been confirmed, hasn't been studied at great lengths, but they have found there's been instances where there's something with the oil production process and the fumes that come from it mixed with stagnant water, like in ponds, that creates a scent that is similar to human decomposition to cadaver dogs.
I don't know.
What are the odds
What are the fucking odds?
that that would happen right then and there? 8 dogs throws me for a loop too. And they said they saw something on the sonar,
I guess it was a whole bunch of turtles
just down in the deep,
all hanging out together.
just chilling, not breathing.
So that no sightings and no clues, police came to the conclusion that Jason Landry was eaten by wild hogs.
Oh, we have proof of that?
Nope.
Any evidence?
I could see that.
They are pretty vicious.
They
So
are.
this is their reasoning. So on the night Jason went missing, there was a pretty large meteor shower in the area. So some theorize that Jason saw the meteors and may have gone off course to get a better look at them, hence going the wrong way. And during this, accidentally crashed his car while looking up at the sky. And perhaps maybe he was high and the meteor shower freaked him out. And he had been talking about the rapture and aliens recently. So I'm sure if that's on your mind and you see a meteor shower that you weren't expecting, I could see how you would be freaked out a little bit. So police theorize that while high, Jason took off his clothes and succumbed to hypothermia. His shorts and t-shirts and sandals wouldn't have kept him warm anyways. Another theory is that Jason was already feeling the effects of hypothermia, explaining why he took off his clothes. And we talk about this a lot. It turns out there is a term. It's called paradoxical undressing. And I found a new term called terminal burrowing. And this is a primitive behavior that can happen when in hypothermia, where a person or any animal will hide in a small enclosed space for shelter, like a fallen tree trunk. Police believe this is what happened, and after his death, hidden in something, Jason was eaten by wild animals. Could be coyotes, vultures, bobcats, but police are leaning towards wild hogs. They even released footage from a nearby game camera showing a large pack of them in the area around that time. Here's the thing, though, or a couple of things. The night Jason went missing, the lowest temperature was 36 degrees Fahrenheit. And I did some research, some math, aka Googled it. At the very quickest, someone would get frostbite in 30 or so minutes. Full on hypothermia would take more than an hour. So if Jason crashed his car, got out, and undressed right after he sent his last Snapchat at 11:28 p.m., his car was only found less than an hour later. So it is possible to get hypothermia, but not super likely, and also not super likely for him to get very far in that state.
I was wondering how, because I forgot how long the car had crashed with the Snapchat to them finding the car was only an hour. Because I was like, I wonder if he knocked out during the crash, because the car's beat up. Don't get me wrong, the car's beat up. So like if he knocked out during the crash and then woke up and had hypothermia because he was out for so long, but it's just not possible.
Yeah, and I was trying to think like, okay, he crashed the car. I don't know if the car was able to run or not. They said the engine was off. Like if he sat in the car and it did run, like that would keep the heat on.
Right.
Even if he did get out, like it would have had to set in really quickly, and then he took off his clothes, or did he take off his
Right.
clothes before it even set in?
I mean, if you're high on marijuana, you ain't taking your clothes off when it's cold outside. Like, that's not a side effect. That's not something you think of doing. I don't know why his clothes would be off, except for he had gotten hypothermia at some point. But that's way too quick because 36 degrees isn't cold enough.
No, it's not even freezing temperatures. If Jason was consumed by wild animals, not a single bone or piece of him has been found. The animals that could have done this do morbidly take pieces and eat them elsewhere, sprawling things out. Thousands of acres have been searched. Searchers are scouring over the area within a day of him going missing. So even if Jason was hiding in something, decomposition would have already begun to set in, and no one and no cadaver dog smelt anything in the area. There are other theories, of course. Criminologist Kim Rossmo has been looking over this case since the beginning and went out to the scene at Salt Flat Road. He walked around, noting that it was nearly impossible to walk around without getting stuck by a thorn bush or being scraped by barbed wire fences. This road was also gravel and definitely not comfortable to walk on barefoot. Kim started to walk around, trying to think of where Jason would have gone, and he went up to these people who he figured were oil workers. He asked them if the building they were standing by had lights on the outside that would come on automatically at night. They said no, and then they told Kim to get the fuck off their private property. Kim then started walking somewhere else when a guy in a truck pulled up and pointed a shotgun straight at him. The guy's Stewart apparently had been called by the people from earlier, and he was not happy Kim was investigating the Jason Landry case and was snooping around. Fun fact, this Stewart guy had previously gotten into trouble for shooting 2 dogs that were on his property, and he had also shot his own son during an argument.
Throw him in jail. The dogs is enough for me.
Yep. Down with him. Death sentence.
So everyone knew about these like 2 shooting incidents, but I don't think he was ever charged with either of them.
Oh, okay.
So criminologist Kim Rossman was like, okay, if anyone's a good suspect, the Stewart guy is. So Stewart has not been formally investigated. Shocker. When Kim Rossmo told the district attorney about their interaction, Stewart was never charged with anything else. Stewart does proclaim his innocence and says he has zero involvement in Jason's disappearance. But he did make an interesting comment to a reporter. When the reporter asked what would happen if a naked person wandered onto someone's property late at night, Stewart said, quote, "If it was a woman, people would probably think she was in distress. If it was a naked man, I think it's safe to say he could wind up dead." End quote.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I could see that. Not that it's right, but I could see that.
Oh, I know many people, if a naked man just walked up to their property, they'd be shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after all that, plot twist, criminologist Kim Rossmo came to the same conclusion as the police: hypothermia and wild hogs.
I don't love that.
Should have done a little better on that one.
There is another private investigator that doesn't buy the wild hog theory, and his name is Abel Pena. Abel is a former FBI agent and now runs the missing persons nonprofit called Project F Census. And Abel's daughter was also a friend of Jason's. So he was like, I'm on this.
Oh shit.
His theory is it's a little out there though.
Okay.
So he wasn't buying the wild hog theory. He goes to this town and he immediately gets bad vibes, citing a pretty large drug scene. I did look this up, and there have been a few big drug busts in Lowling, but overall the crime rate for the town is very low. Like it's a very small, middle of nowhere town. But in his reporting, Abel says that the intersection where Jason should have turned right but kept going is known for drug deals. He theorizes that Jason encountered someone or multiple people at this intersection, whether he was just stopped at a light and they pulled up, or he was buying drugs, who knows. Abel then says it is possible that Jason was taken from his car, beat up, and whoever did so then took the car and staged the wreck. It's a little out there, but
I don't hate it though. But I don't hate it.
at first I was like, there's no fucking way. But this is his reasoning. So, according to police reports, Jason's car was going 35 to 40 miles per hour down this gravel road. So, to Abel, which I get, it looks like either Jason was running from someone or the car was intentionally sped down there to be crashed. So, Jason didn't know this road, gravel road, middle of the night, no lights on it. It would be dangerous to drive down there.
Imagine doing 40 on a gravel road.
Yeah, on a road you've never been down before.
Right, with no lights, most likely.
Jason also missed several other roads or driveways to turn around in and go back to town if he were lost. As for the clothes abandoned, Abel believes that that was a way to humiliate Jason. This was bolstered by U.S. Border Patrol agent Stu Gary, who's an expert in tracking people by just looking at the land. Stu Gary said he walked the area and said there was no evidence that anyone had been there other than the searchers. There's no way Jason could have walked or run into the woods or anywhere without being struck by a fence post or a thorn bush. So, an interesting theory. Usually the simple answers are the right ones, but I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I don't hate it. I'm not on board for the hog theory. I'm not on board for this other, like it's just.
Yeah, in this case, I don't really feel like there is a simple answer. If there is, I'm not hearing it because everything sounds like there's a caveat to it or something that sounds a little like.
We're missing something somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the hog theory, I feel like we would have found a piece.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
The getting beat up by a drug gang or something and staging a wreck, that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Abel Pena took all of his findings to the sheriff's office, who dismissed it all as practically impossible, sticking to the wild hog theory, which, by the way, the family does not believe.
They don't believe Abel's theory or the hog?
They don't believe the hog theory.
What do they think?
Yeah.
They think he's deceased, but they believe foul play was involved.
I could see in a way the drug, like, I don't know, obviously the area that we're talking about, but like, I'm going back to like middle of nowhere, North Carolina in my head, druggy town, where like you turn down the wrong road and you are going to be approached by people, or what if those people had shotguns pointed straight at his face, and came out, so he had to stop, or don't ever stop, just hit your gas pedal, you're faster than humans. But I don't know, I feel like there could be a more logical reason with the whole town people, maybe, that also going 40 miles per hour on gravel really does something as well.
I think the most plausible, to me at least, is he did see this meteor shower and like kind of chased after it to get a better view.
Yeah.
Crashed. I don't know why he got naked or hypothermia or whatever.
That's my issue, is the naked part.
But I do think the most likely answer is probably him wandering onto someone's property and
Yeah. I could see that.
That's highly likely.
Yeah, I don't like this one either. Damn you, Kylee, and your car disappearance stories.
So the Landry family did petition the state to issue a geofence warrant, which was later granted. We've talked about geofencing before, but quick reminder, it just pulls all the cell phone data from a specific area at a specific time to show who was in that area. Even more weird, at the time Jason Landry went down Salt Flat Road, there was zero data of anyone else being nearby.
Well, shit. There goes one theory. Hey, maybe they didn't have cell phones.
I don't know how far the geofencing warrant covered, but In February of 2022, the state attorney general's cold case unit took over the investigation. Since then, they have interviewed dozens of people, scoured the area further, and spent hundreds of hours investigating. While they consider the case ongoing and active, the unit has stated at this point all credible leads and investigative steps have been pursued. The Landry family seems to believe their son is deceased, but the search for him is not over until he has been found. The family runs a Facebook page called Find Jason Landry, regularly posting updates. Well, the sad thing, I went and looked at it again today. Yesterday, July 29th, was his birthday, and they had like a crazy sock day because he loved crazy socks.
Well, you were covering the story. I went and looked at the Facebook page, and I was going to say that too. Like his birthday was yesterday, and that was like his memorial thing, is that people wear crazy socks in memory of him.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
There's currently an award for information set at $20,000. Tips can be called into the Texas Attorney General at 512-936-0742, or you can leave an anonymous tip at 726-777-1359. And I will put all this information for tips or information for both of these guys in the episode description below. Seems the only way an answer can be found as to the whereabouts of Bryce Laspisa and Jason Landry is if something new comes up, and maybe you have that information.
Maybe.
Those are really frustrating, and I feel like both of those were missing something big. And I hate that, and it's very creepy.
In this day and age with all the technology, and I hate to be a little conspiracist, but the government tracking, people can just disappear.
Mind blown. To not know what happened and to not have the body or even just any remains. I cannot. I think I would live on that road looking and looking and looking until I have had, I don't know. That's just, I can't imagine.
I cut it from the story. While they were searching, his dad, Kent, someone like gave him an RV, and he literally just like set up camp with the RV on that road the entire time.
100%.
Yeah.
Just can't imagine. Yeah.
No, I think that's what would drive me crazy, just the not knowing, like all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys want to jump into overtime? I believe Holly has some more Arkansas shenanigans.
Okay, so if you're not from Arkansas, you may not have heard of this. If you are from Arkansas, you've probably heard about the killing that happened in Devil's Den. Devil's Den is a popular hiking trail that gets hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. It's in West Fork. So the killing involved Clinton and Kristen Brink. They're in their early 40s, and they were hiking with their two young daughters who are 8 and 9. The couple was attacked. They were stabbed on the hiking trail. The children were unharmed. We don't know why. We don't know if the parents protected the kids, made them run. We're not sure. There hasn't been a ton of details released at this point, but the couple was found dead on the walking trail.
Hi, Kylee from the editing room here. Shortly after recording this episode on July 30th, 2025, an arrest was made in this case. Suspect 28-year-old James Andrew McGann was arrested and charged with 2 counts of capital murder. We will keep you all updated as more developments come in. Now, back to overtime.
What police have said is that there is a suspect that they have in mind, and they said that he likely sustained an injury while attacking the couple. He's a white male with a medium build, and he was last seen wearing a long sleeve shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He had on dark pants and a black baseball cap. He was wearing sunglasses and fingerless gloves and carrying a black backpack. So a lot of people have speculated that this man may have tattoos. I've just seen that on social media. Full disclosure, not the police saying that they think he has tattoos or anything, but he was dressed in full black, long sleeve, and black pants. And if you are in Arkansas right now, you know that it is so freaking hot. So this is weird. He was last seen driving a black 4-door sedan, or so police think that that's the vehicle in question that they're looking for. And it was possibly a Mazda. The license plate was covered with electrical or duct tape. And where the vehicle was seen, it could have traveled on State Highway 170 or State Highway 220. Tuesday, police released a photo of the suspect that someone took on the trail on Saturday. It shows a man, and you can't see his face because he has his back to the camera, but he's wearing a gray or black hat, And it looks like he has some kind of like black strap around his neck and a black long sleeve shirt on, just like we described, with some kind of, you can also see some kind of like blue logo on the back of the shirt. He's also wearing a black backpack, but to me, it looks more like a duffel bag, like it's longer than it is like wide, if that makes sense. He's also wearing the same black pants we talked about, and he's just standing like looking off into the woods. Next, police released a sketch from an eyewitness. And I think the sketch is pretty good, but unfortunately, it looks like to me like half the men in Arkansas. Like, asked AI to like show you what an Arkansas man looks like, it would probably be like that picture.
I was reading one of the Facebook news posts about it, and they posted the sketch, and like half the comments were people like putting the sketch into Chat GPT to like make it look like a real human, and every single one of them was different.
Yeah, which is why we don't use ChatGPT. I know.
I mean, to solve crimes at least.
To at least solve crimes. Yeah, I mean the sketch is not bad. Like I've seen worse police sketches, but it looks like a lot of people, and I don't know. It's not like super descriptive. The man does have a very like slim face, like kind of a bony like face jawline, and he has like a scruffy like facial hair. Police are asking anyone that visited the park on Saturday to check any photos or videos that they may have taken. And residents that live in that area should notify police if they have access to security or game cameras in the area. The FBI is now involved. They're helping the Arkansas police investigate. They've given additional manpower and specialized resources. What I find like super ominous with this is that the couple had just moved here, I think 3 months ago from another state. I don't assume that they know a lot of people in Arkansas since they just moved here, but it's pretty obvious to me at least that the killer went into Devil's Den planning on killing someone because of the fact that he blacked out his license plate before he even got there. So that just shows like premeditation. And police haven't said if they think that there's any connection between the man and the couple or if it was just a random attack. Either way, it's really creepy. It's just really, it seems really random. And it seems like kind of the perfect place to commit a killing like this because there is zero service in Devil's Den. By the time it broke the news, the man could have been pretty far away.
I don't want to say crazy because I mean, I guess the man just didn't have it in him to do it, but like he killed the parents and didn't kill the kids.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds awful, but he just left the two. They were two girls, right?
Yeah, two little girls,
Yeah.
7 and 9. And I mean, we don't know if like the parents told the kids to run or if the suspect had a problem with the parents, if it was a
Right.
targeted attack. We don't know, and police aren't saying anything. They're just looking for the suspect, but yeah, it's super. I mean, I'm so glad that the kids were not hurt, but it is like it does bring a lot of questions. Super
Yeah.
sad and super scary that this man is just like on the loose. We've got another
Yeah.
killer on the loose in Arkansas. So the first one was Devil in the Ozarks, and now this is the killing in Devil's Den. So Arkansas
Maybe
is just
gotta stop with the devil places,
I know,
maybe.
I know. Who's worshiping the devil in Arkansas?
Yeah.
What cult is here? Because something's going on.
Well, we know.
The West Memphis Three.
Oh, I was gonna say the KKK.
I mean, yep.
We have a few, Holly. We have a few.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Most of Arkansas is normal,
Yeah,
but
we liked Arkansas, but there's a few places. I mean, even we were talking about this before we started recording today. Like Holly's been to Devil's Den. I've been to Devil's
Mhm.
Den. Kylee, I don't know if you have you been to Devil's? Like it's just a
I don't go
normal
outside.
trail hiking spot. Well, it's not normal actually. It's well known.
Yeah, it's very well known. It's a beautiful hiking spot. Super popular.
I mean, from what we know so far, I don't think it was a targeted attack. But if you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna go there and I'm just gonna kill a random person or persons on this trail, one, it's a popular trail. Two, you're gonna pick like a couple with
With
their
kids.
kids and you're
Yeah.
gonna handle four people at one time.
Yeah. And it's obvious that multiple people, or at least one person, saw him on the trail because we have an eyewitness sketch. So I don't know. It's
No.
it's a really weird deal and really, really sad. And if you know anything or know anyone that was there, contact the police. There has been a statement by the family that said that the parents died heroes protecting their children. So that makes me think that there was some kind of there was something that happened for them to say that. But the family is requesting privacy, but also for anyone to come forward if they know anything because they deserve justice. And we got to get this killer locked away because he's on the loose. So,
You know, every couple months, I remember that when we were living in Little Rock, there was a serial killer on the loose, and I check, and he has still not been found.
Kylie, you remember we were out at that outdoor brewery in North Little Rock, and they were like, "There's a killer in North Little Rock," and we're just standing there drinking beers.
Well, we
you,
had
you guys probably did that on purpose.
Oh, we had that masked guy come by, and I took a picture with him.
guys.
Wait a minute.
There was, I think he's still active in Little Rock, a superhero.
Holly, do you know about this?
Yes, I do. We're so embarrassing.
Yeah, but I went, I took a, yeah, you say a superhero, that could have been the killer.
That was one of the theories, was that the superhero was a killer. This guy, I don't know, was like a Batman type costume. He'd roll around and patrol Little Rock, and he was going to catch the serial killer.
Dude, people here are just bored. We had like a like a weird clown thing too of like people dressing up as clowns and like scaring people.
They
These
were chasing people on the interstate, weren't they?
There was all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't, y'all. I love Arkansas, but we can be so embarrassing.
Arkansas, pray for him.
Yeah.
And with that, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. If you like this episode, we've got plenty more. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow wherever. Leave us a review. And we'll see you next week with another case. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.